Hey everyone, it's Aaron from Human Garage, and we are live from a park in Austin. We're going to be talking today about all things hydration and keeping your body properly hydrated with Dan Illicic from Insaltd. And Dan also has an amazing story and history with Human Garage that's actually truly incredible. And I'm excited for you guys to get to learn all about that on today's live, where we typically do this actually on Wednesdays at 5:30 because we came down to Austin and travel plans. We rescheduled, and so we're broadcasting this today, where we'll be talking all things hydration with Dan Illicic, the founder of Insalted. And Dan, once you're on board, let me know. Raise your hand or yell at me. There we go. Boom, boom, boom. We do this every Wednesday. We take a deep dive, and today obviously is not Wednesday. I get it, but typically we do these on Wednesdays, and we do a deep dive. We just finished an event here in Austin, Texas. We're just wrapping it up. If you can all see back there, there's still people kind of hanging out, hanging around, but we're broadcasting. And every Wednesday, tune in where we talk with our partners about the who, the what, the where, the when, and the why they created what they created. And I'm excited for this conversation because Dan has an incredible connection with Human Garage that many of you may not even know about. And this is an incredible history and also an incredible product that we all use on a consistent basis. So, Dan, how's it going? How are you feeling?
I'm doing good, Aaron. How are you?
How are we on like signal wise? You broke up
I'm
there a
good.
little bit. Okay.
You can hear
I
me
think I'm
okay?
good too.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Coming in
Good.
good. Good to
Yeah.
see you, man.
Yeah, and nice to see you as well. Last time I saw you was Malibu. No, it was in Anaheim.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. A little while. I've been in many different places since
Yeah.
then. And
Hair's looking great,
I'm
man.
sitting.
Hair's looking great.
Yeah. It's got some nice, got some nice sheen from the sun. So, Dan, before we hit into talking about Insulted and why what led you on the journey to create it, I would love to. I mean, I've known you for years. I've known you since like 2007, 17,
Yeah.
18, roughly 2018. Or I've known of you. Then I met you probably around 2019 is when I first actually, I think, physically met
Yeah.
you, somewhere in there.
Since Human
Um,
Garage version 1. Yeah.
yeah, Human Garage version one. So I'd love to give people a bit of background about how you've actually been involved with Human Garage, what you've created for Human Garage, and then how the heck you even got interested in doing that kind of stuff in the first place.
Yeah. Well, I've known Gary for, I don't know, coming up 25 years now. So we met through a very different business. We own a branding agency in Vancouver, and at the time, Gary had a telecom technology company, and they kind of got screwed over by a brand agency on their naming and design, and they kind of stumbled upon me, and we kind of been friends ever since. So it's been a long. I've been through Gary's journeys for, I don't know. I've been in his family probably longer than anybody,
Yeah, yeah,
and through the whole transition with the legal issues, and then going from the Rubenstein Center to then creating the version of Human Garage, and then ultimately the current version, which, to be honest, yeah, I couldn't be more proud of the impact that you guys are having around the world. So yeah, it's been a long journey for sure, and yeah, but it's been great. It's been, you know anybody who knows Gary, it's like never boring, right? There's
yeah. That's putting it mildly. It's never boring. It's always an
yeah,
adventure with Gary. Uh, he should just have his own show, uh, hanging with Gary,
yeah,
and what
yeah.
happens
Why not?
as a result of that. But so you actually help build, like, not only the way that the message of Human Garage is articulated, because you specialize in that, actually creating messages and branding for companies,
Right.
and then you design the logo and everything as well,
Right.
correct?
Yeah. Yeah. The twisty man. Yeah. So, and it wasn't me. I mean, it was our agency that created it. It was actually Will Johnson, our creative director, that created that logo. But it was built on a, kind of a discussion and an inspiration, and so there was an initial idea, and then Will turned it into a work of art.
Yeah.
So it's great, and yeah, in the early stages. While all of this was formulating, and Human Garage transitioned from being a service provider, kind of like you would go to a chiropractor
Clinic.
or a physical
Yeah.
therapist or something like that, into its modern version where people are taught to help themselves. Um, that transition was huge. And then, I still, I think we erased it now, but I still remember, when Gary was talking about what are we going to call this, right? And I wrote down on the whiteboard fascial maneuvers, and for some reason that stuck. So, but it seems to be very indicative, and even um, painstakingly just trying to define what fascia is, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's kind of these medical definitions, there's like quasi-medical definitions, there's kind of belief systems on, how you think it works. Um, it's really uncharted territory, and I
Yeah.
think until Human Garage, no one's really taken it seriously. It's just been kind of like this extra tissue that is dealt with, in cadavers, for
Yeah. Yeah.
looking at musculature and body
Yeah.
structure and such. So um, over, you know, I think the way Human Garage approaches it makes a lot of sense, right? It's kind of, and even kind of before the previous Human Garage with David Rubenstein, the entire concept of you can't heal until you remove the stress. And so, how do you get the
Yes.
stress out of the body? And the idea that stress is and trauma is stored in the fascia. I've seen so much evidence of that with people that, not just Gary, but others that have worked on
Yeah.
people at Human Garage. And I don't know, you got to start crying as you watch these people like just
Yeah. Yeah.
releasing these emotions that are held somewhere, right? And
Yeah.
certainly these motions tend, the maneuvers, the fascial maneuvers, seem to be some sort of key to unlocking that. Um, and coming to the events is also super inspiring because I know there's a lot of people out there that are, this is bullshit, this is woo woo, this is cult, this is.
Yeah.
But then there's like honestly, there's no denying, like the people who voluntarily come to these events and are beyond grateful, right? And
Yeah.
and whether it's placebo that cured them, whether it's the fascial maneuvers that cured them, does it really matter? At the
Yeah.
end. So yeah,
Exactly. I mean, I think you hit it right on the head there. It's whatever it was that helped them move past what was getting blocked in them, what was sticking them. Amazing. And
yeah,
I also like what you said, about just the journey of fascia, of bringing this to people, because yeah, there's been people exploring fascia for years and years and years before even Human Garage, and people talking about it and had work on it, but it was always so kind of like complex, or maybe presented in a way that wasn't transferable or as easily transferable. And I think,
yeah,
in my experience of it, where Human Garage and where Gary's thinking took it is simplifying it into a very easy to understand process of something that somebody can do and do right away,
right.
as opposed to running out and having someone that. And that's where, hello, puppy. This dog just came over. Just gave it this voice that people can apply to themselves right away and see a change, which gives them hope and inspiration to go do something
And
else.
and I think one of the most beautiful things about it all too, like if this was, kind of $10,000 a session and come to see the guru, right? That'd be one thing. The fact
Yeah,
that it's free and that you
yeah,
can do it yourself, I mean that's amazing, And so
yeah,
yeah. So anyway, that's I think where we kind of want to
yeah.
where we need it to be. It's like it's helping people heal themselves. Yeah.
and giving them things. And I mean that's what brings up these lives too, is talking to people that we partner with on bringing great products and services to them that can assist in that process of their journey.
Yeah.
So now were you always like interested in helping build branding or create the whole marketing side of things
Yeah.
for companies? Like what led you into that?
Yeah. Not necessarily the marketing, but more in the. I mean, I started off as a commercial photographer, and did that for several years, and then I met the love of my life, and we started a little agency, and and things just kind of grew organically there. I'm fortunate that I love what I do, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel like work, but yeah, I mean, yeah, problem solving. Like I love problem solving, and in the context of Human Garage, it's like, what do we do with this thing? Like, do we charge money? Do we give it away for free? If we give it away for free, how do we survive?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and now when you think about it now, like with supporting your guys with self with education and supplements and all the things that you guys do, it kind of makes it it makes it understandable, I guess, is what I'm getting at, is that the core part of it is free, and and there's ways to support it along the way that help support Human Garage and furthering its mission. So yeah, I mean, creating that kind of thing is, again, very satisfying, right? And seeing it implemented and seeing it work and seeing it not work and seeing the
Yeah.
trouble that it goes through, like it's just all part of the plan, or not part of the plan, but it's definitely part of the journey. So
Yeah. 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 Yeah, it's been a crazy journey actually from when I became involved to where it is now. It's a
yeah,
wild. So you ran this agency. You've helped create concepts, real brilliant logos, copy, messaging. What inspired you to? Did you have other brands before you built Insalted, or was this like
no,
your first kind of?
all we ever did was build for other people, never one for ourselves, right? But of course, I think everybody knows one of the core things Gary talks about for fascial health is hydration, or not being dehydrated. And so that kind of sparked like a whole bunch of investigation, and even for us, like I was buying at the time Element or LMNT, which is like a high sodium
Yeah.
electrolyte drink mix, and my daughter was using it too, and started getting headaches. And typically a remedy for a headache is to hydrate, right? And then the headaches got
Yeah.
worse, and so the best we could figure out is it was the stevia, because it wouldn't be the sodium or the potassium or the magnesium, and then the only thing really left was the stevia. And so working actually well with the same people that actually well we named and Power Kirk and all that kind of stuff too, and the same
Okay.
lab
Oh,
that
you
kind
you
of
you
great.
actually did all the naming
Yeah,
and creation of the
yeah.
supplements and
I wanted to call it Captain Kirk, but no one else liked it, so it ended up just being Power Kirk.
stuff.
um, but
That would have been amazing.
yeah, but with the development of Glyvia or Fascial Sweet, right? We said, wow, this would actually be great in an electrolyte drink mix, and so it took about 5 or 6 months to develop the formulation, and didn't give my daughter headaches, so there was the first check mark. And then we knew all the ingredients were very clean, so yeah, so we just kind of started down that path. Now obviously we have the brand and naming expertise. Insalted is, a lot of people say, why would you call it Insalted? Nobody likes to be insulted,
Yeah.
and the whole idea was about getting more salt in you, right? And it was actually our web developer, our web director, who actually came up with the name, and we all just really loved it, right? And I thought, okay, well, this is actually really cool and really reflects the personality of who we are. And again, we have a great story where we have no sugar, no stevia, no artificial sweeteners, to kind of go out into the marketplace with.
And it tastes good.
Yeah, well, again, not everybody likes it. Some people find it bitter. Some people find it salty. Some people find it has like you know, a, a chemical taste to it. So it's definitely, and I used to get really upset when people didn't like it, right? Because like, what do you mean you don't like it? But
Yeah, how dare you? Yeah.
yeah, how dare you not like it? But what I've learned is like for, even in our own family, for example, like my wife pretty much only drinks the lemon ginger flavor of Insalted. I'm just dedicated to well, not dedicated, but primarily drink our grapefruit. My kids really like the mango passion fruit. The
Yeah.
citrus makes unbelievable margaritas. And so like everybody likes something different. Like some people like it sweeter, some people like it more bitter, some people like it more sour. So so there's something there for for everyone, but really the idea is kind of in the third level of hydration, to do it intervascularly. Drinking mineralized water, or in our case, water that's high in sodium, potassium, and magnesium, helps to alleviate symptoms of dehydration, and just makes everything work better, right? So we've got people who, used to use pre-workouts and BCAAs, and now they just use this, and they like it much better. We have people who have replaced morning caffeine, and started drinking our stuff, and so it's good. I mean, I'm thrilled, and so we're finding our niche. Like I said, we're not for everybody. You gotta like salt, if you're drinking, we're trying to make salt taste as good as we can.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know, uh, that, and which is not easy, right? So I kind of chuckle when people, talk about it tastes salty, and I go, and what did you expect it to taste like? So yeah. But again, other
Yeah.
people find it sweet too. So um, some people will drink it for its functional benefit. Some people will drink it for, because they just enjoy it. So I'm happy either way.
And how long has the brand been going?
Well, we started so the first people ever in the world to try it was Human Garage. We were all at a retreat in Tulum, Mexico. So that was June of 2023. Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll be coming up to 2 years this summer. So babies, we're just.
Sorry, Dan. Hold on one second. Something just happened there. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. That was weird. My whole screen. I think I just bumped a button on my phone. My whole screen got multicolored
Oh, okay.
around the edge.
Yeah.
For a second, I was like, "What the heck is happening?" Yeah, I love the mango passion. Is my favorite.
Yeah, that's our most popular by far. So
What is so? I mean, I know a lot of the audience of Core of Human Garage probably understands the benefit, but just in case we've got of the hydration itself, but just in case we don't, there's new people here, or people just kind of tuning in for the first time of like they saw Human Garage go live. What do you feel is the most important aspects of like being hydrated, and why the ingredient profile that's in Insalted?
sure. Well, I mean, let me just take a step back. Making sure your body is properly mineralized, first and foremost. So, getting silica, getting that Irish sea moss, getting kind of that base mineralization, like that's something that needs to be there. We kind of fit in on the tail end, right, where you're trying to fix. I'll call it acute hydration. So athletes will really like our stuff. Even just general people who are just not getting enough electrolytes in their diet, they'll also really benefit from our stuff. But kind of at a cellular, at a core level, being properly mineralized is the place to start. But kind of on a daily basis, uh, making sure you're getting enough salt. And okay,
Mm,
well, first of all, let's just talk about. I think most people understand that salt's been demonized, right?
yeah, yeah,
Watch your salt, watch this. And I think really what they're saying is, if you're eating crap food, if you're eating processed food, if you're eating, at McDonald's every day, packaged foods, right? They are full of salt. They
Yeah.
are full of sugar. They're all full of all kinds of things. Um, excuse me. The other thing we hear a lot of is, well, I can't have too much salt because it'll raise my blood pressure. And although it is true that, drinking, having salt will raise what's called intravascular pressure, meaning it's creating more blood volume, right?
Hmm.
But if it's healthy, that just dissipates like over time. Even I was in the hospital recently, and it was so funny because I'm going, oh, this is a good time to do some experiments because
Yeah.
I've always talked about it, but I didn't really ever do it on myself, right? And so I went in and they do my blood pressure, and my systolic blood pressure was 114. And then I had some procedures and stuff done, and then they gave me like a normal saline drip, right? So I don't know if you've ever seen like the bag that they hang, and it's got like,
Yeah.
it says 0.9% NaCl, sodium chloride. Um, and so one of the things that's so fascinating with that is I did a calculation, and I'm going, oh, that liter of normal saline is 3,528 milligrams of sodium, right? And I was like, wow, yeah, that's like 4 times what's in Insalted. Right? So
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and then so they did my blood pressure after I finished the bag, and I'm at 139, right? And then they do my blood pressure again an hour later, and I'm at like 130. And then another hour later, and I'm like down at 120. And so yeah, sodium will raise your blood pressure. But if you're hypertensive, meaning you have chronically high blood pressure, which is not from salt. And there's been so many studies I've recently looked at where, the societies where they consume the most salt have the
Yeah.
lowest blood pressure, right? It's obviously other factors. There's other health factors, other health risks, genetics, and diet in general that are going to affect it. But the truth is, sodium will raise your blood pressure, but it's raising your blood pressure because it's increasing your blood volume, right? So now we even see, for example, um, like endurance athletes, right? So there's actually an article on our website that I kind of summarize a big study that was done out of Australia. And I'm actually based in Vancouver, Canada. And sort of the Canadian Sports Institute is actually implementing a lot of this stuff now as well, which is where I heard of this, where they're doing what's called hyperhydration or sodium loading. So let's
Okay.
say 1 to 2 hours before an endurance event, people will load up on sodium, right? And again, it's very different depending on the size of the athlete and kind of what the event is going to be, but it's way above what would normally be there. And what that's doing is it's oxygenating their system. It's increasing their blood volume, which is going to move more oxygen and everything through the system, while also providing that hydration that is necessary. And then the other thing that you learn as well, or that I learned going through this, which I did not know because I'm not an endurance athlete. I play a hell of a lot of tennis, but not an
Yeah.
endurance athlete. And the other thing that I learned is like a lot of endurance athletes run with salt pills, right? So they don't want to drink a bottle of water in the middle of a run, in the middle of a race or of a like
Yeah.
a marathon. What they do is they'll have a little sip of water, and then they'll take a salt pill, right? And that salt pill again helps helps your body hold on to water, helps you hydrate. Um, so it's kind of interesting, kind of the myths around salt and kind of its
Yeah.
role that it plays. We were at a trade
But
show actually in Austin a few months ago in November, and our big banner on our trade show reads "Don't fear the salt," right? And so, which has been great. But you asked a question initially, kind of why our formulation. So, Insalted has, when kind of, I don't know if you can see this well on here. I guess it's going to be
yeah.
backwards, isn't it? Um,
Yeah.
but it's
Well,
basically it's got 900 milligrams of sodium, 300 milligrams of potassium, and 100 milligrams of magnesium. And so people will often ask, is that the ideal combination? And the truth of the answer is there's just no such thing as an ideal combination, right? Everybody
yes.
everybody has a kind of a different metabolism, a different way to uptake those nutrients depending on what the supply is or what the deficiency is. And so the idea is to get enough, all right, is to get enough that, and if you're healthy, you just excrete whatever you don't use.
Yeah.
So sodium and potassium work together. And we won't go into it in here, but there's something in biology called the sodium potassium pump, which basically they exchange ions and it kind of moves fluids in and out of your cells. So
Yeah.
having the potassium there is key. Muscle cramps and stuff. The magnesium is great, but you need much less of it. And then of course the other thing is to make it taste half decent. And so drinking seawater isn't pleasant for most people.
No.
So
No.
adding a sweetener, in this case fascial sweet or glyvia, to the mix helps it, more, make it more palatable. And then we have like the 4 flavorings that we add to that, all naturally flavored: um, lemon, ginger, grapefruit, citrus, and mango passion fruit. So, so the formulation came out of a combination of what works well in 500 milliliters of water or 16 ounces of water. Um, what makes a good serving size, what makes a good, what makes a good memorable ratio. So we have a 9:3:1 ratio of sodium, potassium, and magnesium. Um, and yeah, so that's kind of where the formulation came from. And I got to say, and got to give full credit to Element, because I really fell in love with their story, right? With their, you need more sodium, not less. Um, and honestly, if my daughter didn't develop from the stevia that they use, Insaltd probably wouldn't exist. So
Yeah.
thank God for
That's
it.
pretty wild.
Yeah.
Hey, Element, here's a commission for the creation of our company.
Well,
Thanks for
you know
bringing
what?
that
Like I
in.
said, you see it now. Element came out in a world where that was very fearful of salt, and they came out
Yeah.
and said, "Hey, you need more salt," right? And now there's several brands. Like when we started 2 years ago, I think there might have been like 2 or 3 others. Now there's probably 20 or 30 others, right?
Yeah.
So that have all kind of jumped in on this high sodium. A lot of them are focused around the party market, so hangover recovery and things like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, it's just anyway, good clean hydration.
It's interesting about the salt thing because my dad, when we'd tell stories like in the '50s when he was a kid, like walking around, they used to like because they used to work in the woods. His father had like a sawmill and all that stuff, and they go in the woods to cut lumber. And when it was hot in the summer, they would take salt pills
Yeah,
and give him energy and keep working so they
yeah,
could keep going. And his father, here, take this salt pill. So they would take salt pills, drink a little bit of water, and take salt pills so they could keep
yeah.
working.
I mean, and if you know anybody in Mexico or Central America, right? Like it's very common to have watermelon and salt, right? I know the first time I
Yeah.
saw that, I was going, "What the hell?" But but when you live in a tropical climate, everybody knows you need salt, right? So it
Yeah.
seems very natural, kind of, you know, 1,000 miles either side of the equator, right, for people to
Yeah.
to do this. Our web developer Ahmed, he's from Egypt, right? And it's like, yeah, he goes, yeah, salt is huge, right? Like we have it on, we have it on fruit, we have it on watermelon, we have it on, and I was like, see, living in the north here, it's like, wow, really?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. And the cold with snow, you don't really crave it as, but it's true. Like every time, I mean, I've never used much salt on any foods that I've eaten, and spending time in Colombia and stuff like that. Like everyone's like salt, 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 and then and it makes sense actually of why
yeah,
it's helping keep them hydrated because it's so hot and humid all the time.
yeah, yeah. So remember, like people will talk about sodium like bloating you, right? Like I think we had one comment on Amazon. I want to do a kind of a mean tweets thing, kind of
Oh, you should totally
where
do it. Those are great.
yeah, and so I think the one that I remember is like this woman said, "My fingers got fat just looking at your ingredients." And So, so one thing that people don't understand, right? Like, when it comes to hydration and with salt, right? Like you can have it intercellular, right? Which is what we talked about, the mineralization side of thing. Intravascular, which is in your vascular system, which is you get from like drinking, right? And then there's the interstitial, right? Which is all the fluid that's around. So if you've ever known somebody who has edema, where they get kind of swollen ankles and stuff like that, that's where the water is collecting. Like that's not the stuff that you want, right? And so some people who are, especially people who are diabetic, they'll have neuropathy or in their lower extremities, and they'll start developing edema. So it's just not that's not a healthy situation, right? But I said, if you're relatively healthy, and here's the other thing, I'll mention this with blood pressure, right? Now,
Yeah, yeah.
figure out this irony. One of the well-known causes of high blood pressure is being dehydrated. One of the ways to hydrate is to drink electrolyte-rich water, right? One of the things that they warn you against is salt is going to raise your blood pressure, right? So there's a bit of a game to play there, where you want to make sure that you're properly hydrated. You want to make sure that you're not killing yourself while you're doing it. So
Yeah.
but water alone, like just plain water, not. I mean, hydration, like literal sense, meaning the absorption of water, right? And so it kind of
Yeah.
sounds weird that water alone is not hydrating. You do need the minerals, and those minerals can come from food. It doesn't have to come from the water itself. But a lot of us also struggle with getting clean water, right? Like
Yeah.
drinking water out of water bottles, like plastic water bottles. That's not the best thing. Drinking tap water in most places in the world is, you can taste the chlorine and the metal.
Yeah, you can't even
Right?
do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then you've got like water filtration systems like Alcaviva, and there are others and stuff, but the one that I'm most familiar with is like Alcaviva, that gives you good clean water, and then you can add the hydrogen or get the hydrogen ions on top of that to even assist more with the hydration. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, we don't want to demonize salt anymore. So
No,
it's
and it's interesting to watch actually, because I mean I remember back like when I first, like when I was like 15, 16 years old and got into like working out and fitness, and then as I progressed, and even probably until the last few years, I mean you still see this, but it's starting to change where people are like, drink more water, drink like a gallon, you got to drink more water, but yet in the end, it's not, drinking more water isn't hydrating you. It's actually robbing your body typically of
yeah,
minerals.
yeah. So this is the way to think about it. It's actually not more or less kind of thing. It's about balance. So, for example, and I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but there's a certain level of water, sodium, potassium that you need in your system. If you drink too much water, like let's say I was going to drink 3 gallons of water a day, right?
Yeah.
Then I can become at risk of not even like this overworking my kidneys, right? But I could be at risk of developing something called hyponatremia, right? So the Na,
Hypoglycemia.
hyponatremia, which is basically, you know, your sodium levels are too low. The water has effectively altered the balance, the ideal balance, and now your sodium levels are too low. And here's the funny thing: is that symptoms of like too much water, hyponatremia, right, are the same as if you're dehydrated, right? How's that for a
Wow.
kick in the so yeah, so it's the same thing, like brain fog, fatigue, muscle soreness, dry mouth, that kind of thing. So the same symptoms as if you're dehydrated. So the key again is balance.
Yeah.
Um, like what we tell people is, let's say for using a product like Insaltd, and I can tell you how to make your own perfectly good hydration drink, like on your own. But
Yeah.
ideally, the best time to hydrate is first thing in the morning, right? So whether you have a you know, like what's it called? Like filtered water, like at home, a pinch of sea salt, right? And a squeeze of fresh lemon makes a beautiful hydrating drink first thing in the morning. And, you know,
Yeah.
most of us will lose anywhere from half a pound to 2 pounds of water overnight, right? And before people start getting grossed out and thinking it's, you know, they got a wet bed that's absorbed 2 pounds of water, uh, most of that is through respiration.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
coming out of your breathing,
yeah,
not leaking out of your body.
yeah. You know, the other thing too that people think is, oh, I got to have my morning coffee, right? One of the things that I found that was super interesting is um, coffee doesn't actually give you energy, right? Or caffeine doesn't actually give you energy. It actually blocks you from being tired, right? And so it's one of those things again that it's like, wow, I really didn't know that. And so the fallacy of having caffeine first thing in the morning, because caffeine blocks adenosine, an adenosine response, which is that, you know, not tired hormone, then you know, waiting at least 90 minutes before you have your coffee, uh, otherwise it's going to have zero effect. You know, so it's getting hydrated first thing in the morning will wake you up. So a lot of people find a profound difference just hydrating then. And then, you know, if you're going to the gym, if you're exercising, if you're lifting weights, if you're working in a hot climate, if you're sweating a lot, you know, getting those electrolytes replaced, you know, again, and a product like Insaltd can certainly help with that. So it's you know, yeah, like I said, it's there's uh, there's a lot of schools of thought, you know, on all of
Yeah.
this, but the best research that I can find seems to circle around, you know, around these concepts. Um, yeah.
What do you feel? What do you feel about? Because someone asked, I saw in the chat, like actually, someone asked a question on what do we think on reverse osmosis water. What are your? We have some specific thoughts at Human Garage, but
Yeah. So here's kind of my take on it, right? Um, I just call it having great water. So you don't, number one, you don't want contaminated water, right? And so reverse osmosis using charcoal and things like that, you know, does help to clean the water, but it takes everything out, right? So
yes,
there's nothing in it. I mean, ideally, if you could drink water from a mountain stream, you know, that'd probably be the best. But that's not feasible for, you know, for most of us. And then even
yeah,
if it is, it's coming in plastic containers. And, you know, now with all the talk of microplastics and all these other things that are going on, you know, I don't have the answer. I don't know. So filtering your water at home, you know, stage one, just make sure it's clean. You know, it's free of chlorine and fluoride and you know, all the other chemicals and the calcification that comes from going through, you know,
pipes.
miles of pipe before it gets to your, you know, before it gets to your home. It's just making sure that it's clean. Like we have a water filtration system here at home, and I can actually smell the difference, right? Like you know, just from the regular tap, or we're washing dishes or whatever.
Yeah,
Uh, you know, it like I can smell the chlorine, and I find it very distasteful, right? And so we just have our filtered water there. But you know, just sure you have make sure you have good water.
yeah,
I've not heard anything bad about reverse osmosis, but again, it depends on what you're comparing it to. If it's cleaning up your tap water, great. If you're comparing it with spring water, not as good.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. It was very similar stances. Like what we always recommend to people is likely as well is like, hey, what is your water situation? Because if you got horrible water and you need to really filter it, and reverse osmosis is going to do a good job of taking out the junk, but just make sure you're then remineralizing or adding stuff back to the water that gets pulled out while you're reverse osmosis in it.
yeah,
Because otherwise you're drinking dead water.
yeah. I see somebody asking, is there a way to remineralize your reverse osmosis water? And I would say, you know, throw some of this in there,
Throw some
or
insulted in there.
at the very least, a pinch of sea salt,
Yeah, and a little bit of lemon
and
for
a
it.
bit
Helps
of
a long
lemon.
way.
Yeah, exactly. And if you really want to go for it, you know, stir in some Irish sea moss. You know, it kind of makes it more gelatinous, and you know, but yeah,
Yeah.
that would be one of the ways to do it for sure.
Do you have like a pretty intense like morning routine that you do when you first wake up, or do you just are you pretty simple?
I play a lot of tennis, and I play it always first thing in the morning. So
Okay.
my routine is pretty simple. On my way to tennis, I'm consuming maybe about a half a liter of water, like a half a liter of Insalted, right? Like on my way there. And then I have a second water bottle that I'll use and sip through, kind of throughout, because I usually play for a couple of hours. And so, and it's quite intense. So I'll do that throughout the match.
That tastes like a metal. Oh, we got a quick question there. Thoughts on hydrogen water? I have a little water bottle, but it tastes like metal. Not liking it as much. Well,
Um,
go for it. What are your thoughts on it? I think hydrogen water is awesome.
yeah,
But yeah, different devices.
yeah, I'm not overly familiar with like again, here's the thing is there's a lot of belief systems, and there's a lot of people who swear one way or another. um it's always fascinating to me, right? Like kind of where it comes from, right? So
Yeah.
hydrogen water, my experience with it, it's been great, right? But I don't really understand the science and stuff behind it. Um, but I know that, let's say with an Alcaviva system, for example, the water is clean, right?
Mhm.
And to me, that's kind of the first check mark. Right? Like anything else is a bonus.
Yeah.
And so, now getting it, the hydrogen ions in there. Yeah, I mean, from the stuff I've read, it looks like it's very beneficial. How effective and stuff it is and how that gets measured. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. I mean, I
Excuse
think
me.
that a lot of that stuff is still being, I think, really explored from a scientific perspective. But hydrogen is again, it's like if anything can help funnel things into your system or bring or help the body operate more efficiently, then why not?
Yeah,
Devices that are on the
exactly.
market. Obviously, a good place, guys. If you do have very specific questions about hydrogen water itself, you can always send a message to our care team, and as well as Shane from Aquaviva Systems.
Yeah.
He will not try to sell you a system, by the way, even though he has his own systems. He rather talk to you about finding the best way for you to approach your water needs. So if you do have super detailed questions to dive deep into the science behind hydrogen, Shane from Aquaviva is a great guy to just send an email to and say, "Hey, clue me in on this stuff."
Plus, he's always good with dad jokes. So,
Say that again.
plus Shane's always so good with dad jokes. So.
Oh, yeah.
I see
My
somebody asking here about like kind of the metal taste. You know what? I guess it really depends on the metal taste in like a metal water bottle. We use stainless steel water bottles. Um, I don't ever find. I mean, I find that's probably the cleanest material to use, maybe besides glass. But
Yeah.
then the stainless steel is insulated and it's thermal. So I do like that better. I think if you're getting like a metal leaching, right? Like, and hopefully your bottle is stainless steel.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not leaching, or if you see signs of rust or things like that, obviously not a good thing. But, uh, but yeah, I mean, if you start getting a metal taste in your mouth too, I mean, unfortunately, that could be kind of other signs of organ issues, right? Especially with the kidneys, right?
Yeah.
And so another thing to kind of be careful of.
Yeah. And again, if you guys have more questions about hydrogen, send Shane a DM or just email him. Probably email is quicker because he'll go down the path with you. So, what's it like being on the side of uh, having having this company? I mean, you have your own company, but now you have more of a product company.
Yeah,
I guess actually designing the whole concept for companies is the same thing of producing a
yeah.
product. But in this realm, is like a huge difference with it? Is it like weirder? Because usually you help people create such powerful
Yeah,
imagery, messaging, and helping them build into you know giant places. Like, what's it like now operating also that other side of it?
uh, no one to blame but myself. right? So my business partner is my daughter, right? So we work
Yeah.
together, and she's a musician and an Amazon expert, and so first of all, working with your kid is probably one of the coolest things, at least for the dad. I can definitely say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, uh,
Yeah. Well, we should
but
get her on and say like, hey, how is it working with your dad? What's it
yeah,
like?
yeah. So one of the funny things is one of the funny things too is with um, kind of working this way, like where we're technically our own client, right?
Yeah.
We have really nobody to answer to but ourselves, because it's pretty often in our office, right? Like we're working on something and it's like, why the hell did they make this decision? Man, that's just really stupid. You're like, what do you mean they don't want to go with this one? This is like 10 times better than what they're choosing.
Yeah.
So now we get to be our own client. And we kind of get to do things the way we feel is best. And that's actually very gratifying. Like that's actually a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Funding it all, spending our own money, that's a whole, now that's a bit of a different story. But for the most part, no, it's been great.
And like, does she run a lot of the like day-to-day operations? What is
Yeah. So
your daughter focused?
Tiana, my daughter. So well, she's very strategic. So we pretty much deal with everything together. But her area of expertise is on Amazon, and so we're kind of really perfecting that marketplace. So try to use her talents there as much as possible. We also do demos together. We go and we'll travel together. For Insaltd, we'll consult each other on like what flavor should we do next, and what kind of design changes do we need to make. And so it's nice to have somebody to bounce those ideas off of. But there's no real official role. I mean, there's pretty much three of us that are running this thing. So there's myself, my daughter Tiana, and then Josue in our office, who actually started off with us as an intern. And the kid's just so brilliant, that he's, like I said, I was out of the office in the hospital for about a week, and I jokingly, but not jokingly, said, "Hey, thanks for being the interim CEO." Right? So
Yeah.
it's good to have a good core team. But yeah, there's just three of us that are doing this right now. We have, we distribute out of Canada and out of the U.S. We use a lot of third-party logistics, and we have a manufacturer that we use to put the product together and package it all up. So for the size that we're at right now, it works perfectly. So
Yeah. Dan, there's a good question here. How is the flavoring added, made or sourced?
yeah, so I know there's a lot of controversy about this, but we should get this out on the table. So
Yeah.
all the flavors are natural. I'll use grapefruit as an example. Okay.
Yeah.
So grapefruit is, so imagine grapefruit juice pulp, right? And it goes through an atomizer. So if you can kind of think of like a perfume kind of a thing that kind of sprays a really, really, really fine mist, right? It goes through this atomizer, and then it's what's called spray dried. And so what falls down is all the flavor enzymes and components that give it the flavor. And so imagine you kind of collect this powder, right? That is super concentrated of flavor made from the real grapefruit pulp, grapefruit juice. But that flavor is too small to be dispersible. And so
Mm-hmm.
it needs to be bound to a bulking agent. And the most common bulking agent is maltodextrin. And so maltodextrin is a starch, right? But it is neutral. It has like no flavor profile. It's got like and it basically it allows the flavor to be dispersed throughout the product. And I know there's been a lot of controversy around like maltodextrin and kind of cornstarch and kind of where it comes from. And
Yeah.
um, and there's so little of it in the product that it's metabolically inconsequential, right? Like I said, it functions as a carrier of the flavor, because the flavor needs to be bound to something. Otherwise, there's no way you can guarantee that each serving is going to have the right amount of flavoring, right?
Yeah.
Because imagine you've got like a bowl of powder, right? Like a concoction, and there's 1 grain of salt, or sorry, there's 3 grains of salt. And now you've got to pour it into 3 containers and make sure that each container has exactly 1 grain of salt, right? So
Yeah.
that's a really stupid oversimplification, but
Yeah. But
I think it
it's
kind
true.
of gets the point across for a lot of people, um, you know, for like why it's necessary, right? So, but yeah, but the flavors are all from the natural. Like the lemon ginger comes from lemon and ginger, mango passion fruit from mango and passion fruit, citrus comes from limes and lemons, and the grapefruit comes from grapefruit juice. So it does all come naturally that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it is free because I know a lot of people see the word natural nowadays and they panic because natural's been abused by a lot of companies to kind of circumvent and put some other crap in there.
Yeah.
So I get the question, but yeah, when you break down some of that stuff, I mean, if there is something that could potentially be, it is so minuscule that it doesn't like it's not going to affect your body really.
No, that's why legally, like even on our product, like we can say 0 calories. It's like, there's no calories in it. Even though maltodextrin has a higher glycemic index than sugar, right? But again, there's so little of it that it's just metabolically insignificant.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then sourcing it. I mean, you guys use obviously like third party tested labs, clear labs, clean labs.
Yeah, so ingredients, everything comes with certification, and so um, again, doing a lot of testing gets very expensive and is really more of a let's call it a big producer kind of a game, right? So what we want to do is we make sure we have a certificate of analysis for every ingredient that we've got coming in, and what we do, and we also want to make sure that we've got enough. Um, uh, like that the product is of good quality. I mean, people will often ask us, well, what kind of salt do you use, right? And I said, well, we use sodium chloride, like pure sodium chloride. And they go, oh, well, is it Celtic sea salt or is it this or this? And the reality is that like Himalayan salt and Celtic sea salt, it varies too much for it to be a consistent product in something like ours, right? Because there's a lot of like other trace minerals. So, yeah, if you're gonna, salt your steak or your vegetables or whatever, yeah, go
Yeah.
for it, right? We personally use for cooking. We personally use kosher salt, right? The big flaky salt. Um, but uh, but yeah, people will get all up in arms about like the source of the salt. And if you ever
Yeah.
see salt being made, right, like especially sea salt, you know, you'll be kind of disgusted because it's basically these triangular rows, these mounds of white salt that's like drying out in the sun,
Yeah.
with all the air pollutants and the seagull shit and all the other things that are out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's even a lot of I've seen controversy coming up around sea salt itself, where it's sourced from, how it's stored, because they found tons of microplastics in a lot of the sea salts, and then other contaminants in sea salts. There's a company here in the U.S. that I think has like one of the best and purest forms of salt to use for cooking. Is Redmond's,
Yeah, they're out of
like
Utah. Yeah.
which is like a I think
No,
Canada too, or just Utah.
I think they're based out of Utah. Right?
Yeah, like Redmond's salt.
Yeah.
It's like one of the purest tested ones on the market, without contaminants and microplastics and whatever else.
You know what? Like I said, if it's coming from the sea, it's coming from the sea, right?
Yeah,
And
and what's in the sea?
so,
Yeah,
yeah, so, uh, so yeah, if it's coming from the sea, it's going to come with what comes from the sea,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
Whatever.
so there's all kinds of purification processes and stuff that it goes through. But like again, even for us, we have like uh, our stuff comes in like a little like a sachet, kind of like this, right?
Yeah,
And if you think about it, okay, you're drinking a powder, right? Like it's like it didn't get that way naturally. it went through a bunch of it went through a bunch of systems and purifications in order for it to get to that way. Um, so, but I mean, there's purists. So, like I said, for people who are the purists, I think you just make your own.
Yeah, yeah. And otherwise, if you want a high quality products sourced, made well, and convenient, grab Insalted.
Yeah. I see somebody saying they feel dehydrated when they take salt, right? And then,
Yeah,
like I said, yeah, just add more water. And like, how much salt are you taking? Are you getting also enough your other minerals,
yeah,
potassium, magnesium? Um, so yeah, but no, salt does not dehydrate the body. Salt is used to dehydrate other things, and it's used as a preservative. But salt in and of itself is not dehydrating. So I don't know where people get that, that myth from.
yeah. I'm super curious now about like where that mythology kind of crept into the public consciousness and where that was pushed from. That'd be interesting to kind of
I
find
can
out like
tell
kind
you,
of where.
yeah, from the bar, right? They give you a bunch of salty peanuts so you'll buy more beer. Right? So,
Oh, yeah, yeah. Eat these peanuts, have more beer.
yeah.
Then beer definitely doesn't hydrate. I don't think beer. I think robs you of a
Well,
lot of.
alcohol has all kinds of other issues and the yeast and stuff in beer,
Yeah,
but yeah, like I said, hydration isn't difficult, right? Like number
yeah,
one, you want to mineralize yourself at the core, right? With silica and like the minerals. Like again, one of the best sources that I know of is Irish sea moss to get that that core mineralization, right?
yeah,
So that's going to assist with your overall health and hydration. But then drinking an electrolyte rich water, not every day, and sorry, not every like every time you drink water, right? But like for example, even for me, like I'll probably have anywhere from 1 to 2 servings of Insalted in a day, right?
yeah,
And the 2 serving days are if I'm playing tennis.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. He answered that question. What kind of salt's in the product? Sodium chloride.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, salt and sodium chloride are synonyms, right? So it's just pure sodium chloride, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and we source it from wherever the cleanest source of it is. But that's essentially just purified sodium chloride.
yeah. There's somebody. I think they were talking about EMF rocks. Someone's like, I gotta put 4 bags in my Tesla to protect my testosterone.
Yeah,
Yeah, you actually do because riding in a Tesla is like riding in a massive battery that's producing so much like EMF and electricity that you're putting your body under a tremendous amount of stress. So if you want to harmonize that, yes, get some EMF rock bags and stick them in your car if you're going to still drive your Tesla or sell your Tesla and buy a Jeep.
yeah. Well,
Uh,
again, like the long-term effects of this stuff, we just don't know yet, right? So
yeah, we don't
it's
because it's like who would have thought that like things we thought were like making light bulbs so we could see longer would actually start to have a negative effect on our bodies and mess us up.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Good point. Good point. So, how long are you guys in
well,
Austin?
we're here till the
Uh,
20th. So if
okay.
anyone's in Austin and wants to come and connect with us, we're here till the 20th. It's like this dance party still continues to go on in the background. Um, what's next for Insulted, Dan? Are you guys gonna like develop more product line, or you have like some other things in the
No,
pipeline that you're working on?
yeah. Right now it's just about growth, right? Like so, we found runners really seem to love us, and so we're getting into a lot of the running communities, races, running stores. We're opening up more wholesale accounts. Amazon is really, really competitive. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to guess
Yeah,
at least 1,000 electrolyte brands on there.
yeah,
So Amazon's
yeah,
competitive, but I mean, it's still, there's still good sales on there, and it's convenient for most people that want to buy it there. But really growing the wholesale side of things, building partnerships with people like Human Garage, which we obviously have,
oh yeah, thanks.
has also been
Yeah,
great. And the product is available with a discount, off the Human Garage site. So if anybody is interested, they can go there. But yeah, really building up the wholesale and And we just did a demo this morning at a place called Spin Society that does. They're an indoor cycling place and a gym, right? And so getting out, getting people to try it, tell us what they think.
Yeah,
That's just kind of a very
yeah,
grassroots plan. Yeah,
that's awesome. Oh, hey Dan, by the way, Shane is in here. He's
yeah,
saying that you should make a hydrogen electrolyte mix.
yeah. There we go. Well, we'll
New,
have to talk about that.
new product launch right there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I
It
know
should be
there
cool.
are hydrogen tablets, right? So maybe that is a possibility. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how. I'm always curious about those hydrogen tablets of like how well they work or that. But it would be cool to have like with a tablet. I could see how you'd easily do a hydration mix and make some kind of cool thing with
yeah.
that.
You know the hardest thing to
What would you call that? What would you call a hydrogen insulted mix?
I don't know. I'll have to come up with something, something kind of funny. But one of the hardest things to do in developing a product is to not put everything in it, right? It's like,
Oh yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
people will go like, oh, like, well, why don't you have any? Why don't you have any B vitamins in there? And then why don't you have any like vitamin C? And then why don't you add zinc and like these other minerals? And then why don't you? And then of course, the more things that you add, the less any one of them has like the potency. So we very consciously decided to keep the ingredients ultra simple
yep.
and just put it in for for what it is. So
Yeah, yeah. No, I like that thinking a lot because again, the tendency is like, oh, well, there should be 45,000 ingredients in this thing. It's like, should there? Because at some point you're compromising the quality or the quantity of a beneficial ingredient.
yeah,
And that was one of the biggest problems to me on in the supplement market realm altogether. Is so many brands were stacking ingredients in something, but those ingredients are in such usually tiny amounts that they're not potentially producing a benefit anyway. So why not just create a product that is going to do its job,
well, because I think
hydrate
from
you?
sorry, Aaron, what was I going to say? From a marketing perspective, it's got it. It says, oh, it has like 40 essential vitamins and minerals, like in every serving. So there is kind of like a kind of a marketing play to say that, but you're right. Like you get very little of any of it. I just find it's best to have a you know like a single source. It's like, if you need heart surgery, right? Do you want to go to the generalist doctor who does like toenail replacements and
Yeah,
plastic
yeah,
surgery and like ear, and dental implants and orthopedics, or do you want to go
yeah,
just to a heart surgeon? Right. So yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So we just want to be a heart surgeon.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the rest you can get from doing some good fascial maneuvers
Yeah.
that Dan came up with a name for.
Yeah.
FYI, everyone, fascial
Yeah.
maneuvers or fascial maneuvers, and hydrate, eat some good food, keep your toxins to a minimal, and
Yeah.
lower your stress, and you'll be pretty much good to go. And process your emotions, maybe.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Um, so I kind of like to wind down these conversations with a little bit of like some tidbits of information about what people should maybe read. Are you a big reader?
English is my second language, so I'm a slow reader. So I like to listen more. Like
Okay.
I listen to books. Yeah.
What do you listen to that you'd recommend right now for anybody out there?
Oh,
It
well,
can be something self help oriented, or it can be complete great fiction. Because I'm
yeah. You
always
know what?
interested in good fiction.
I've never been a fiction reader, but I just finished an audio book called "Buy Back Your Time" by Dan Martell, and
Okay.
man, was that a kick in the head? The things I waste my time doing. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's actually really good. It's like it's quite eye opening.
Buy back your time. Okay.
Buy back your time. Yeah, you know.
And then any good tunes, any music? Are you in any music kicks?
Well,
I've
I
I've
gotta
gotten really
say,
weird. I've gotten really weird. I listen to like end up listening to just like weird frequency music lately, and then some good like classical, a little bit of
Yeah.
country. But
Yeah. Well, I'm not really a country fan, but like at this point, I know this sounds kind of cheesy, but I'm a real fan of my daughter's music. She kind of has a jazzy, bluesy sort of vibe to her music, and
okay,
so I really enjoy that. I get to be kind of in the. I told her that this kind of makes me chuckle too, even though I'm not a musician. But I go, listen, I got to be on your album. I go, I want to be the official triangle player. Like the little.
oh nice, yeah,
I go, you got to write in a triangle ding in your songs.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I don't really. It's funny. I don't really listen to music. I enjoy music,
yeah,
but I find just the serenity of a quiet mind just helps me much more. Yeah,
yeah. Where's her music? I didn't know she made music. Where's her music at?
yeah. So
That's amazing.
she's got one out on Spotify like right now, and then she's got a whole
Okay.
album that she's working on. So yeah, it's amazing. It's like the you know heartache and hardships and stuff, and it's just like very uh, yeah. I don't know. It just kind of touches the heart. So
I'll have to check it out. I
yeah,
didn't realize she had. That's
yeah.
awesome, incredible. So, where can we find Insulted? Uh,
Yeah. So get Insaltd. Insaltd is spelled Insaltd, right? So no E, no U. It's a instead of the U. But getinsalted.com. It's on your guys' site
yep,
as one of your partners. So I would recommend people go there, and they can get the discounts and kind of the human garage deal. We're on Amazon. We're starting to be in more and more stores, but best is probably Human Garage website, our website, and then Amazon.
awesome. And you know, can people follow you directly if they just want to chat with you, ask you more questions,
Yeah,
or where's the best place to do that? Or
we're
just
out
email
of
the website.
yeah they can either any of them. Happy to chat in any of those things. Ironically, I'm not really a big social media user,
Yeah,
so I really don't get the point of you know living your life online. I guess maybe I kind of get it, but I don't really get it. So,
yeah.
uh, but there's so much fakiness out there. But yeah, like any of the mediums. Our website is great. Our Instagram is great. So if they have questions, happy to help.
Awesome. Um, I wonder if we could wrap it up. I don't know if you're willing to do it. Do you have like a just for everybody for fun? One quick funny story about you and Gary. And this is Insulted, by the way, everybody.
Yeah. So somebody was just asking to show the box. So
Yeah, yeah. It's an amazing product, guys. It's really cool. It's easy to use. I enjoy the taste. Myself, mango passion, and it's just convenient because those little satchels are awesome to travel with because you can just grab and throw a handful right in your freaking suitcase or bag and not worry about bulkiness.
yeah.
So it works well that way. But if you don't mind, kind of closing this out with a fun, if you're open to it, a funny story about you and Gary that could be told that he would be okay with.
um,
Because well, by the way, for you guys just joining, Gary and Dan go way, 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 way back in history together. They've known each other for over 20 years, and been through the thick and thin of human garage and just life.
yeah.
So
I don't know if I can really think of just one in particular right at this moment, but you know, Gary's always been so hands on in everything that he's done, and so like ultra focused. I always have been a huge admirer of that. I remember when I first met him, in Vancouver, he was a CEO of a telecom company, and I remember walking into his office, and he had one folder on it clean, like there was nothing, right? And my desk looks like I've got like 8 million projects going on
yeah,
all the time. And I remember asking him, I was like, I go, how do you do it? He goes, oh, easy. I work on one thing at a time until it's done, and then I put it away. Right? Then I pull out the next thing, and then I'll work on that. And I was
Yeah.
like, son of a bitch! Like, how the hell do you do that? You
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
I think he's got an innate discipline, and an innate discipline and a vision of how things work, that I'm a big admirer of. Right? Like,
Yeah.
he's all in. Right? Like, what you see for Human Garage, like I the Gary I knew, right? Drove $150,000 car, had like $5,000 suits, $2,000 shoes, um, you know, traveling first class like everywhere. And the Gary now, I think has 3 pairs of shirts, 2 pairs of shorts. I'm not sure of the underwear count, uh,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
basically kind of gave it all up to do this. And so I just having that sense of purpose, that sense of mission, is I think what we're all seeking, right? Like, can you imagine having a belief so strong, so loud, that it's like a calling. It's like, well, why? What else would I do, right? This is it.
Yeah. No, it's pretty wild to watch that focus. Dan, I'm going to talk really quickly because I'm doing this in the park. My phone charge is about to cut us off.
Sure. Yeah.
So everyone, this is Dan Illicic from Insalted. It's been a pleasure. We're going to repost this whole thing. So if you're just tuning in now, you can go back and rewatch, and go check out Insalted. Hydrate yourself. Take care of yourself. And before I cut off, thank you to everybody. We're going to be in Austin, Texas till the 20th. If you're around, hit us up, connect with us, and grab your Insalted and connect with Dan. Dan is brilliant. And if you're, I don't know, Dan, can we also pimp out the fact that you can redesign their company if they need some help?
We can talk about it. Sure. We
Okay.
can talk about it. Yeah, I'm happy to talk to people who just even have a few questions. So not an issue. So yeah, please reach out if there's any way I can help.
But check out Insulted, everybody. And we do this talk every Wednesdays typically. We had to do a little rescheduling here, but Wednesdays at 5:30. Tune in. We take a deep dive, and Dan will be back on to talk more with us. Everyone, have an amazing, amazing evening.
Good night,
And we'll see you
everybody.
soon. Dan, thanks for
Thanks,
coming on. I
Aaron.
really appreciate it, man.
All right, cheers. All right, cheers.
See
Bye
you
bye.
later.
All right, bye bye.